All right, let's talk about the Drifter. Currently, we have access to level 1 cards, so we're going to go through those card by card and really just talk about how they work, how they interact, and I think there's a couple that really stand out from the rest and are, much better. There's some wording that's changed that's going to make some abilities more viable. And also, there's a starting play that really stands out to me that I think is going to set you up for success. So make sure you stick with me. There's a lot of things about the Drifter that I love. I like it more than the rest of the classes I've seen for a couple of reasons. I think it's got a great mechanic. So it's got a token movement mechanic, and it allows you to move your tokens on your persistent abilities backwards and forwards. And because of that, the Drifter has a large hand size of 12, and so it's going to allow you to play persistent losses. And I think it's a simple mechanic with a ton of opportunity for emergent gameplay and doing really neat stuff. And so for me, it's my favorite class that I've seen so far. And we're going to talk about all the things that I think are really, really cool. And also right now, I've got a Frosthaven giveaway going. And so check down in the pinned comments if the link to the Frosthaven giveaway video is still there. It's still live. Make sure you go there and make sure that you enter the giveaway so that you have a chance to win a free pledge of Frosthaven. Okay, let's get started. Okay, let's start off with Bloodletting. The top of this, I think, is going to be one of your core actions. With Crushing Weight Out, this is going to be a repeatable 5 attack. At level 1, you're going to be wrecking people with that kind of attack. And then it also allows you to move a token back on one of your persistent abilities. So essentially, you could just use this all day long and keep moving a token back on Crushing Weight, and you'd never actually run out of, charges, let's call them. The initiative at 65, not the greatest. And the bottom, attack 1. And if you have Crushing Weight Out, it's actually attack 3 with a wound bottom. This is pretty good for burst damage, but I still think that, probably, let's say 8 or 9 times out of 10, you're going to use this card for the top because it's so good. Destructive Fury. Top can be a very powerful attack if you have Crushing Weight Out. But just be careful. You can burn through charges of Crushing Weight much faster using a card like this. If you hit 4 or 5 enemies, you could just nuke your Crushing Weight card. And then once it's gone, it's gone. You don't get to move a token back if the card's, in the graveyard. Sorry, I'm an old Magic player. I think that's a Magic term. Anyways, you attack 5. Hitting multiple targets at level 1 can do very, very good work. But yeah, just be careful that you don't, use up all of your Crushing Weight. Initiative 19, also very good. It's one of our fastest initiatives at level 1 for the Drifter. And then the bottom, attack 3, range 2, and it can hit, multiple enemies. If you have the top of Precision Aim out, and we'll talk about that later, whether you should or you should not have Precision Aim out, can do some pretty good work too, and very good for burst damage. A bottom attack of this strength is very, very good to combo with, a top attack and really output some serious damage. No Remorse. Top, heal 3, range 3 at level 1, pretty strong. Heal 4 would be a little bit better, but with range 3, it actually makes it very viable. 20 initiative, pretty good for the class. And then the bottom, it's a bit underwhelming. However, this class does struggle mightily with move, so it might be useful in some situations. And, once we get to see level 2 to 9 cards, we'll see if this makes sense for something else, to combo with. But at this point, it feels a little bit underwhelming. I mean, move 2, attack 3, move 2. I mean, even with Crushing Weight Out and its attack 5, it's still not amazing. Violent Inheritance. Looting and attacking? Sign me up. Nah, just kidding. I don't really love this card. It's okay though. I mean, attacking and being able to loot is quite useful, but the power of the card is just a little bit too weak. And then the bottom loss, maybe if the bottom loss was a little bit more powerful, it would be better because you could keep this card around and loot here and there and then pull it out for a really big loss near the end of a scenario. But move 4 with an attack 3 at range 3 is decent, but for a loss, I don't think it compares to actually having something else that like a persistent loss like crushing weight or something. I think there's quite a few losses that are going to outpace this in terms of general power. Okay, deadly shot. Top is, I mean, it's one of those cards that's always going to be slightly useful, but never great. And because I, think crushing weight is probably better than precision aim, I'm not using this card for the top very often. Initiative at 32 stinks. And then move 4, amazing for the drifter. You have to take this card, in my opinion, just looking at the level 1 cards at least, because of the move 4. It is our only non-loss move greater than 2 at level 1. So, I mean, you pretty much have to take it just for that reason. Prudent Preparation. Top, Retaliate 1, Shield 1. Somewhat useful, I guess. A bit underwhelming, though. I mean, the Retaliate doesn't have any range, and that's one of the biggest problems with Retaliate, and it's why Relentless is a very good card. We'll talk about that in detail coming up. Initiative, though, 14. It's our fastest at level 1. And then the bottom heal 2, range 3. This has pretty good utility. A bottom heal like that is not bad because you can stay in the pocket and not have to move and if you're fighting off monsters, and you can heal at the same time. So pretty good card overall. Crushing Weight. And in my opinion, just looking at the Drifter so far, this is a core card that you have to take, and you should pretty much always be playing turn 1 so that, you're at full power for the rest of the scenario. The Drifter without this card feels a little weak to me, and that's why I think if you have to choose between this and precision aim, I'm taking Crushing Weight 100% of the time. The extra 1 range on precision aim just doesn't make up for the extra damage on Crushing Weight. 71 initiative, I mean, it doesn't really matter. And then the bottom, heal 2 at range 2, and then move 1 of your tokens back. I mean, that's good, but I just don't think you're using this card for anything other than the top. But the top is so amazing that you're pretty much always playing it. Relentless. And this is one of the cards I was talking about. They've fixed the language on Retaliate so that it is drastically better than, previous versions. But let's talk about the top first. So move the character token on 2 of your persistent abilities back 1 space. This is fine, but I'd rather do something like, kill a monster and move 1 token on 1 card back, or play top of sustained momentum, do 4 damage and move 1 token back. I don't think that the extra token is worth doing basically no damage, at least with the top portion of the card. Initiative at 89, nice and low, but I think for me, I'm playing it for the bottom all the time because 1, you can't waste these charges. I mean, it's not like you put up Retaliate and you've got a bunch of ranged monsters that decide to step back to avoid disadvantage, and then they're out of range and your Retaliate hits nobody. This is only going to hit monsters who are within range 2, and so it's never going to miss, and it hits at range, which solves a lot of the problems with retaliating against ranged monsters. This, to me, is a must-take card because of the changes. It's going to add up to a lot of damage over a scenario, and you're just going to be in there, in the fray, attacking for 4 or 5 on top, and retaliating for 2, 4, 6 damage, stuff like that, and it's going to be really, really good. So just looking through the cards, I think that the best play you can make, and this is sometimes going to be a bit of a pain, because room 1 in Gloomhaven / Frosthaven, you generally tend to get rushed. I don't know what it is about the design, but room 1 doesn't usually have a ton of room, and usually you're getting rushed. But I still think you just go slow, you stay in the back, you tell your friends, hey, it'll be worth it in the long run. This is like putting money in the bank, I'm not using my credit card right now. I'm going to put everything in bonds or whatever. Sorry, did not mean to talk about investing in this video. Anyways, you play Crushing Weight top, you play Relentless bottom, and you're set up to do very good amounts of damage every single round. I mean, when you're attacking 4, 5, 6, and then you're retaliating fairly consistently. At level 1, I could see this character doing 6 to 8 damage every single round, and it wouldn't even be that hard. So start off this play, put that money in the bank, and tell your friends, you know what, deal with it. I'll be good later on. One pro tip I'd like to share as well is you'll notice that XP is only on certain charges on the persistent abilities. If you want to maximize XP, just pay attention to where those are and move it back 1 so you're getting XP each time you play it, instead of, every second time or on the first, third, and fifth time, etc. And then, if you could, please go ahead, hit that like button. It really helps me out a lot. And subscribe to my channel. And turn on notifications so that when I publish new content, you're notified. And go ahead and check out this video I've put up here. I think you're really going to like it. Fortitude. Top is very good with crushing weight. We're going to have attack 5, pierce 2. Repeatable at level 1, that's going to be super strong. Being able to add range for a little bit of flexibility, and pierce, and 3 damage. Very good card. Initiative 31. I mean, it is what it is. And then the bottom, anytime you kill an enemy, move the character token on one of your persistent abilities back 1 space. This feels like a bit of a trap card. Like, compared to the bottom of Draining Arrows. And it's not exactly the same, because in Draining Arrows, you have to have 3 persistent losses out to maximize it. But Draining Arrows will get you 6 token moves back, essentially. And for Fortitude to be equivalent to that, you'd at least have to kill 4 or 5 enemies, because it actually allows you to play less persistent losses than Draining Arrows. So let me know your thoughts. Is this a trap card? To me, it feels like a bit of a trap, because if you get caught without, killing enough monsters, then it's not going to be worth it. I mean, moving a token back 3 times is not going to be worth it for a loss, in my opinion. Draining Arrows. Top is pretty decent. Muddling 3 enemies at 1 damage is okay. I mean, it's not going to be too useful against shielded enemies. And then if you use the top of Precision Aim, it's going to be 6 damage plus, and muddling all 3. But you will use up Precision Aim very quickly, so just be careful. And then the bottom is move the character tokens on 3 of your persistent abilities. So first, you've got to have 3 persistent abilities out, which is going to affect your longevity. That being said, I think it can be a powerful ability in the right situations. But it's one of those high-risk, fairly high-reward types of situations, because let's say you play Crushing Weight and you use up all your charges. This card, suddenly the bottom becomes fairly useless. And if you're taking it with you to play that bottom, you've got to be really careful to make sure that one of your persistent losses doesn't get used up and goes away, because then this card, not as effective. Initiative 23, pretty good for the class. Vile Assault. Top is pretty good burst damage. With Crushing Weight out, it's attack 4 poison, attack 4 wound. That's going to be good for, 10 damage pretty much, as long as you attack before the monster. So, I mean, good burst potential there. Initiative at 27. It's okay. It's getting close to the kind of annoying range, but, I mean, it's better than in the 30s. And then the bottom, though, move 2, heal 2 self. I love this. I love cards that have a great, powerful half, and then another half that's super useful, aka moving, and then you just get to heal for free. Moving and healing, to me, is one of, I don't want to say it's one of the funnest things, but I just love it, because an ability on a move is just beautiful. Unbreakable. Another top move, or another top ability where you can get 2 tokens back. And I forgot to mention this before, but you can use this as a between rooms kind of maneuver. Like sometimes, you spend 1 turn between rooms just to get your ducks in a row, especially if you think it's going to be a tough room coming up. So, I mean, fairly useful for that. And then 90 initiative is also good. And the bottom, I think, is pretty good. I'm curious as to what you guys think. Is continuous health bottom better? Or would you rather just have the shield 1? Let me know. Continuous health. Top is decent, but I don't know. I think Crushing Weight just makes you so much more powerful than Precision Aim overall. So in my eyes, I'm going to play this class as a melee. It's nice to have ranged here and there, But, you know, when you're attacking range 2 versus attacking 5 melee, you're not really going to want to go range 2. If it was 3, totally different story, or even 4 range. Like, I really hope they buff this up to 3 because it makes it a lot more interesting choice. 3 range is going to give you a lot more utility when you can't make it to somebody. But 2 range, it's not a huge upgrade from just a melee attack. And then the bottom, the next 6 times you perform a heal, add +2. I like this a lot better than just saying, hey, you know, every turn heal 2 or something crazy like that, because you're probably not going to waste the charges. That being said, you know, if you're at 2, you're below 2, you're down 2 health, you use this, you're going to waste 2. You're going to waste a charge. So let me know. Like I said, I want you to comment below, is the bottom of this better, or is Unbreakable the better choice here? Precision aim. The top, like I said before, I think it's a little too weak. I mean, adding 1 damage in 1 range is not as good as adding 2 damage. It's just not, in my opinion. Utility-wise, the extra range adds, like, let's call it 0.25. I would consider this add 1.25 damage. And you'll have to decide whether you think that's enough to play this card. 66 initiative is fairly poor, but the bottom of this card is awesome for this build, especially if you're going melee. You're going to move, you're going to attack, you're going to do your thing, you're going to move a token back. It's going to be really, really awesome for you. For this class, this bottom is super good. Sustain momentum. Top, attack 2. It's going to be 4 with crushing weight. It's going to be pretty good. You know, move a token back, just very solid for melee build. I could see myself using it a lot. It's never going to be bad. The bottom is very interesting though. So, and it's one thing I love about Frosthaven. They have done a great job on making decisions much harder, I feel. They've upped their balancing game. Good job, Isaac and crew. So, I play tested this. I didn't need the move. I did give myself some boots, and I made it through scenarios without it feeling like, you know, I was really, really slow. Because generally move 2 with an occasional move 4 is just enough to get the job done when you throw in boots. So I'm curious, comment below, is this a core card? Do you feel like this class really needs the move or not? And if you do use it, I would suggest waiting until the second room. Use it in the middle rooms because you won't need it in the last room. And so you just, you know, wait till the end of the first room to use it. I love the Drifter. It's my favorite class so far. I think the token movement mechanic is simple, but has, like I said, a ton of opportunity for emergent gameplay. And I actually think it's going to be kind of tough to make those decisions at certain points in time because you're going to try your hardest to keep all of your persistent losses for the majority of the scenario. And so it's going to be fun balancing that. In my opinion, the best way to go with the Drifter is a melee build. I'm definitely not going ranged based upon the cards I've seen so far, and that may change if the level 2 to 9 cards, you know, offer a viable alternate build. But at this point, I'm going melee. The cards I'm taking: Crushing Weight, Sustained Momentum, Precision Aim, Relentless, Unbreakable, Vile Assault, Deadly Shot, Bloodletting, Fortitude, No Remorse, Destructive Fury, and Prudent Preparation. I'm not taking Continuous Health, although I think you might be able to swap that for Unbreakable, but I don't know if the tops are comparable. Let me know down in the comments. And then I'm also probably not taking Draining Arrows. It depends on how many persistent losses you think you're going to use though. If you're guaranteed, like, I'm using 3 persistent losses, Draining Arrows is probably better than Fortitude. And then I'm not taking Violent Inheritance either. Thanks again for watching. I really appreciate you watching these videos. Thanks for coming on the journey with me. And go Frosthaven, go!